Annual shipbuilding capacity of 1 million CGT. Bring America to America, go to America. 34. North Korean shipbuilding strategy. South Korean technology, North Korean manpower, U.S. market. Creating the miracle on the Taedong River. North Korea's Workers' Party can do a market economy. The optimal strategy for North Korea's shipbuilding industry can be summarized by the triangular formula of South Korean technology, North Korean manpower, and the U.S. market. A structure in which South Korea handles design, engineering, and quality supervision, North Korea handles block fabrication, assembly, and outfitting labor, and the United States functions as both the end user and financial supporter, represents the path for the North Korean shipbuilding industry to grow most rapidly and with the highest added value after denuclearization. If the Nampo joint venture shipyard manufactures the blocks for LNG carriers and tankers to be supplied by South Korean shipbuilders under the Trump administration's plan to order 448 vessels by 2037 as part of the denuclearization package deal, this creates a triple interest structure where the opening of the North Korean shipbuilding industry is linked to both energy exports to the U.S., such as LNG and crude oil, and the supply of vessels for the reconstruction of the U.S. shipping industry. Within this structure, North Korea's long-term goal is not to remain merely a subcontracting base, but to gradually absorb technology to acquire independent design and construction capabilities. Just as South Korea leaped to become the world's second-largest shipbuilding nation 15 years after the founding of Hyundai Heavy Industries in the 1970s, it is a realistic goal for North Korea to grow into a mid-sized shipbuilding nation with an annual construction capacity of over 1 million CGT within 20 years with the support of South Korea. As of 2014, North Korea's shipbuilding capacity stood at 258,000 tons, representing a mere 1.3% of South Korea's capacity of 23.08 million tons in the same year. Until the 1980s, shipbuilding performance was limited to just 1 or 2 cargo ships per year, and major components, including engines for these large vessels, were almost entirely dependent on imports. Since 1990, due to severe energy and raw material shortages, shipbuilding in the civilian sector appears to have virtually ceased, and the industry maintains its existence through the maintenance and repair of domestic and foreign vessels. The technological level of North Korea's shipbuilding industry is estimated to remain at roughly the level of South Korea in the late 1960s. Repairs for large vessels are handled by facilities such as the Nampo shipyard and the Chongjin shipyard, while repairs for small and medium-sized vessels are handled by ship factories or repair shops located throughout the country. The ship repair yard in Nampo became North Korea's representative ship repair yard with the completion of Dock 2 in March 2006, and it is equipped with a large dock capable of repairing multiple vessels of tens of thousands of tons simultaneously. Judging that this repair plant could also handle the repair of foreign ships, North Korea actually showed a proactive attitude toward joint ventures with South Korean companies. Large-scale new construction has recently commenced at the Chongjin shipyard, and satellite imagery has captured excavation work starting in late January 2026, south of the outdoor destroyer construction zone, where the new Kanggaeon-ho destroyer was launched. This work is analyzed to be related to a politically significant project, likely involving the construction of warships. The global shipbuilding market is dominated by China, with South Korea and Japan occupying the second and third positions, respectively. Meanwhile, the United States is imposing sanctions on the Chinese shipbuilding industry, including the decision to impose port entry fees on Chinese-made vessels. Since the election of President Trump, the U.S. has consistently expressed its intention to cooperate with South Korea in the shipbuilding sector, expanding possibilities for cooperation in areas such as maintenance, repair, and overhaul MRO, LNG carriers, and warship construction. President Trump signed an executive order to restore U.S. maritime dominance on April 9, 2025, and it is projected that between 403 and 448 vessels, including merchant ships, LNG carriers, and naval warships, will be ordered by 2037. The Trump administration is seeking to meet the demand for LNG carriers, merchant ships, and naval vessels by cooperating with allies such as South Korea to prevent China from seizing maritime hegemony. Huntington Ingalls signed an MOU with HD Hyundai on April 8, 2025, for cooperation in improving ship productivity and advanced shipbuilding technology. The United States is pursuing a direction to allow the construction of U.S. Navy and Coast Guard vessels only by foreign shipyards located in the Indo-Pacific region that are NATO member states or have signed mutual defense treaties with the U.S. Under the Make America Shipbuilding Great Again initiative, South Korea has pledged a $150 billion investment to modernize its naval power, expand commercial shipyards, and strengthen alliance supply chains. President Trump is actively pushing for the repeal of the Jones Act to revive the U.S. shipbuilding industry, and the Open America's Waters Act was proposed in June 2025. If the Jones Act is reformed or relaxed, it will open the door for vessels built abroad to be deployed in U.S. coastal trade. This structure opens a pathway for vessels built through joint ventures with South Korean shipbuilding technology to enter the U.S. market, provided North Korea establishes diplomatic relations with the U.S. following denuclearization. Looking at the trends in the global shipbuilding industry, Europe led the field after World War II, but Japan caught up after the 1960s based on its cheap and diligent labor force, rising to the top spot in the world in the 1970s. Subsequently, South Korea, which entered the shipbuilding industry in the 1970s, rose to the #1 position after the 1990s. The biggest bottleneck currently facing the South Korean shipbuilding industry is a labor shortage. Despite a super boom in orders, the industry is repeatedly unable to fulfill orders on time due to an absolute shortage of skilled on-site workers, such as welders, painters, and pipe fitters. North Korea's highly disciplined, low-wage, skilled workforce is the most realistic solution to resolving this bottleneck. A division of labor where South Korea handles design, engineering, quality control, and core equipment, while North Korea handles hull block fabrication, outfitting, painting, and assembly labor, is the most natural and rapid starting point. Let us look at the roadmap for the development of North Korea's shipbuilding industry after denuclearization. The short-term strategy, 5 years after denuclearization, begins immediately with the increase in the number of vessels and block fabrication. 1. Internationalize the maintenance, repair, and overhaul MRO business at the Nampo shipyard. The Nampo repair shipyard is already equipped with large docks capable of simultaneously repairing multiple vessels of tens of thousands of tons, and has expressed a strong intention to repair foreign ships. Transforming the Nampo shipyard into an international ship MRO center immediately after denuclearization is the fastest path to monetization. We will establish a joint repair corporation with HD Hyundai Marine Solution, Hanwha Ocean, and HJ Heavy Industries to attract repair demand from vessels in China, Southeast Asia, and Russia. Dry dock repairs can generate foreign currency revenue of approximately $1 to $5 million per vessel. And with the necessary technology and equipment, the first foreign vessel repair can be completed within 6 months, particularly in the context of the U.S. pushing to reduce its reliance on Chinese vessels. Positioning Nampo as a Northeast Asian MRO hub for non-Chinese ships would enable long-term MRO cooperation with the U.S. Department of the Navy and the Department of Defense. 2. Subcontracting hull block fabrication is the fastest division of labor model between South and North Korea. Block fabrication is the part of the shipbuilding process that has the lowest dependence on technology and the highest labor intensity. The method involves North Korean shipyards cutting and welding steel plates according to blueprints designed by South Korean shipyards to produce hull blocks, which are then transported by barge from Nampo port to South Korean shipyards in Gyeonggi, Ulsan, and Okpo for final assembly and outfitting. This model offers immediate cost competitiveness, as labor costs for block fabrication in North Korea are only $5 to $8 per hour, compared to $20 to $30 per hour in South Korea. It is a mutually beneficial structure that accelerates the absorption of order backlogs at South Korean shipyards while providing immediate foreign currency revenue to North Korea. 3. resuming the in-house construction of fishing vessels and small cargo ships. In conjunction with the modernization of the fisheries industry, the construction of 300 to 1,000-ton class fiber-reinforced plastic FRP fishing vessels and small cargo ships will be immediately resumed. We will start by importing engines, navigation equipment, and communication equipment while constructing the hulls in-house. With design support from Korea's Hyundai Nampo Shipbuilding and HJ Heavy Industries, and technology transfer from STX Shipbuilding, it will be possible to build 50 to 100 vessels annually within 2 to 3 years. 4. Immediately establish a legal and certification system. Joining the International Maritime Organization IMO and ratifying the Safety of Life at Sea SOLAS and Marine Pollution Prevention Convention MARPOL must take precedence. Technical support will be secured from the Korean Register KR, Lloyd's Register LR, and DNV to help North Korean shipyards obtain classification. Since no foreign shipowner will place an order with a North Korean shipyard without classification, this is the most critical institutional task in the short term. The midterm strategy 5-15 years focuses on building new shipbuilding capabilities and entering the U.S. market. 5. Establish a South Korea-North Korea joint venture shipyard to modernize the Nampo, Chongjin, and Sinpo shipyards. Establish a 50-50 joint venture shipyard in Nampo with either HD Hyundai Heavy Industries or Hanwha Ocean. The structure involves the South Korean side investing in shipbuilding design software, CAD/CAM, automated, welding robots, and high-strength steel cutting equipment, while the North Korean side provides the site, docks, and personnel. The joint venture shipyard will construct medium-sized vessels ranging from 5,000 to 30,000 DWT, including bulk carriers, tankers, and container ships, based on Korean designs, and sell them to Korean or global ship owners. Starting with an initial annual capacity of 5 to 10 vessels, the goal is to achieve a construction capacity of 30 to 50 vessels within 10 years. Leveraging their access to the East Sea, the Chongjin and Sinpo shipyards will specialize in the repair of vessels for the Russian Far East, the construction of small and medium-sized vessels for export to Japan, and the construction and repair of fishing boats. While warship construction facilities will be converted to civilian use in accordance with the denuclearization agreement, high-precision cutting and welding capabilities will be utilized for the manufacture of special vessels, such as oceanographic research vessels and icebreaker components. 6. Establish a trilateral cooperation structure involving South Korea, North Korea, and the United States to target the U.S. merchant shipping market. The United States is expected to place orders for up to 448 vessels by 2037, and the Trump administration is pursuing a strategy to reduce reliance on Chinese-made ships through shipyards in allied nations. The specific structure for a South Korea-North Korea joint venture shipyard to target this demand is as follows. HD Hyundai Heavy Industries subcontracts the fabrication of hull blocks for LNG carriers, tankers, and bulk carriers ordered by U.S. shipowners and shipping companies to the Nampo joint venture shipyard. From the perspective of U.S. shipowners, since the vessels are built under the design and supervision of a South Korean shipyard, a U.S. ally, they can secure price competitiveness while avoiding regulations on Chinese-made goods. For North Korea, this structure allows for indirect integration into the U.S. ship supply chain, serving as the first and most substantial point of contact in U.S.-North economic relations. If the Jones Act reform proceeds, a structure in which vessels built through a South Korea-North Korea joint venture in Nampo are sold directly to U.S. shipowners also becomes possible. In this case, the Korean peninsula becomes the key hub of the U.S. benefiting non-Chinese ship supply chain, desired by Trump, and North Korea is positioned as its production base. 7. Participate in the production of components for liquefied natural gas LNG carriers. Korea's big three shipbuilders, Hyundai Heavy Industries, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, and Samsung Heavy Industries, hold a near monopoly on global orders for LNG carriers. LNG carriers are high value-added vessels with a price tag of $200 to $250 million per ship, while membrane tanks, insulation, and cryogenic piping require advanced technology, hull blocks, and other structural components can be manufactured in North Korea. If block manufacturing capabilities comparable to those of Hyundai Heavy Industries' Gunsan and Pohang block yards are established in Nampo, participating in the production of blocks for 10 LNG carriers annually could generate hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign currency revenue. 8. Expand into the fields of offshore plants and special vessels. Polar icebreakers, oceanographic research vessels, dredgers, and floating storage and offloading FSO units are high-value-added special vessels that can be manufactured even at medium-sized shipyards. We will secure icebreaker cargo ships linked to Russia's Arctic development and North Korea's own survey vessels for seabed resource exploration as initial demand, and then expand to global marine development demand. The long-term strategy, 2015-2030, is to complete independent shipbuilding capabilities and leap forward as an export shipbuilding nation. 9. Secure independent design capabilities. The long-term goal is to acquire independent ship design capabilities after absorbing technology from South Korean joint venture shipyards for 10 to 15 years. North Korea is following the path taken by South Korea, which secured independent design capabilities within 10 years, starting with Hyundai Heavy Industries in the 1970s. By deploying IT personnel from the Yunjong High-Tech Development Zone in Pyongyang to ship CAD/CAM design, software-based design capabilities can be established relatively quickly. 10. Specialize in eco-friendly vessels to build ammonia and hydrogen-powered ships. Due to the International Maritime Organization IMO regulations on carbon neutrality by 2050, demand for eco-friendly retrofits for 50,000 existing vessels and new shipbuilding is expected to explode worldwide. By supplying green ammonia produced in areas such as Gangryong as ship fuel, North Korea will position itself as a specialized shipyard for ammonia-powered bulk carriers and tankers. This field is a blue ocean where no North Korean state has yet secured the initiative, presenting an opportunity for North Korea, starting late, to enter with new technology without relying on past legacies. 11. New shipbuilding complexes will be established in Ryangampo and Wonsan. Additional shipbuilding complexes will be required 15 years after denuclearization, in addition to those in Nampo and Chongjin. Constructing a new large-scale shipbuilding complex at the mouth of the Yalu River in Ryangampo, North Pyongan Province near Sinuiju, will enable the linkage of parts supply chains with Dandong, China, and allow for vertical integration, utilizing facilities such as the Songnim Hwanghae Iron and Steel Works in North Hwanghae Province and Cholima Steel in Nampo. In Wonsan, a shipyard specialized in the construction of pleasure boats and cruise ships will be established in conjunction with the East Sea Tourism and Industrial Complex Development. These are financing measures for the development of North Korea's shipbuilding industry. For short-term financing, joint venture shipyards will be established through direct FDI by South Korean shipbuilders. Block fabrication subcontracting infrastructure will be supported using the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, and funds will be raised through the International Maritime Organization IMO's Shipbuilding Capacity Development Program for developing countries. Medium-term funding will be secured through the reinvestment of profits from joint shipyards, policy financing from the U.S. Development Finance Corporation DFC to support the establishment of a supply chain for ships moving away from China, and the reinvestment of dollar foreign currency earnings from ship exports. Long-term funding will support North Korean ship owners in ordering domestic vessels through the establishment of a fully self-sustaining profit structure and ship financing support from the Export-Import Bank of Korea and the Korea Ocean Development Corporation. This outlines the plan for structuring U.S. support and interests regarding the development of North Korea's shipbuilding industry. The key to making the U.S. take an interest in the development of North Korea's shipbuilding industry is to directly connect U.S. interests. The United States recognizes the shipbuilding industry as a strategic industry that supports both military and commercial interests, and is pursuing cooperation with allied shipyards in response to China's naval buildup. If South Korea-North Korea joint shipyards participate in the production of non-combat components for U.S. Navy vessels, namely hull structures or compartment modules, the U.S. Department of Defense will acquire a direct interest in the development of North Korea's shipbuilding industry. The structure in which contracts funded by the U.S. defense budget serve as a source of funding for the opening of the North Korean economy is the most powerful mechanism for garnering support for U.S. congressional policy toward North Korea. Furthermore, if the Nampo joint venture shipyard manufactures the blocks for LNG carriers and tankers to be supplied by South Korean shipbuilders under the Trump administration's plan to order 448 vessels by 2037, this creates a triple interest structure where the opening of North Korea's shipbuilding industry is linked to energy exports, such as U.S. LNG and crude oil, as well as the supply of vessels for the reconstruction of the U.S. shipping industry. In Trump-style deal-making, a package is completed in which North Korean denuclearization, U.S. LNG, and crude oil export strengthening of the U.S. shipping supply chain, strengthening of the U.S. military alliance, and this is the most powerful economic structure that compels the U.S. to continuously support the post-denuclearization era of North Korea. Let us examine the positioning principles for the shipbuilding industry that are optimal for North Korea after denuclearization. The optimal strategy for North Korea's shipbuilding industry can be summarized by the triangular formula of South Korean technology, North Korean manpower, and the U.S. market. A structure in which South Korea handles design, engineering, and quality supervision, North Korea handles block fabrication, assembly, and outfitting labor, and the United States functions as the ultimate end user and financial supporter, represents the path for the North Korean shipbuilding industry to grow most rapidly and with the highest added value after denuclearization. Within this structure, North Korea's long-term goal is not to remain merely a subcontracting base, but to gradually absorb technology to acquire independent design and construction capabilities. Just as South Korea leaped to become the world's second-largest shipbuilding nation within 15 years of the founding of Hyundai Heavy Industries in the 1970s, a realistic goal for North Korea is to grow into a mid-sized shipbuilding nation with an annual construction capacity of over 1 million CGT within 20 years with the support of South Korea. Next time, we will discuss the outlook for North Korea's roads and railways. Thank you.